Hello, a gatekeeper here. I have just suffered another raid upon my fortress by the Knights of Alexandria. No matter what I do, no matter how many towns I destroy, no matter how many heroes I displace, they refuse to give up, instead swelling the ranks of these petulant mosquitoes. I destroyed the home of the famous duelist, Greatcoat Wendy. My troops invaded the Summer Palace, evicting Duchess Cheyenne, and then the Autumn Palace, evicting Duchess Sarah. My spies turned over the apothecary of Sir Kate and betrayed the whereabouts of the mighty young Sir Chase. I even sent assassins to kill the twin Winter Knights, Caitlin S. and Caitlin R. But to no avail. They have all taken refuge and joined the Knights of Alexandria. But they do not know my master plan. I have sent an agent into their midst, an undetectable spy who will betray all of their plans to me.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Library of Alexandria. Today I am going to be doing my May TBR, the books that I plan on reading in the month of May. And so May's a weird month. April was pretty good for reading, and May's a weird month in that I actually didn't have a ton lined up, which is weird because usually I have 12 books or like 8 books on my TBR. And this one, for some reason, I only had 4 or 5 lined up. And so without any further preamble, let's get down to business. Let's go ahead and get it started with the books that I plan on reading in May. So now, the first book, Boosh, Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. Now, the odd thing about bringing this up now is I've brought this up before, but bringing it up right now, I have not actually completed Well of Ascension. In fact, I'm actually starting Well of Ascension tonight, as of filming this. It's 4 days till May or whatever. So I plan on starting Well of Ascension tonight. And so I probably will not have finished, I guarantee you I will not have finished reading it by the beginning of May. So I don't actually have any thoughts about Well of Ascension before going into Hero of Ages. But I know that I am trying to complete series, and so I definitely want to read Hero of Ages in May so that I can check that box off for Mistborn Era 1. Pretty much everybody that I know, with some exceptions, say that Hero of Ages is their favorite of the 3. I know that Leanna does not like Hero of Ages, and I know there's a couple people who like Well of Ascension the best, but for the most part, everyone says Hero of Ages is amazing. So I'm eager to see what it resolves. I'm eager to see really what is left to do after Mistborn. Again, have not read Well of Ascension yet, so I'll be reporting back on both of those in the next month. Next up, continuing the Feb Rising read-along that we started in my Discord in February, we have Boosh, Iron Gold by Pierce Brown. And so this is book 4, really starting a new trilogy in the Red Rising universe. The first trilogy consisted of Red Rising, Golden Sun, and Morning Star, which we just concluded last month. And so even though this second trilogy is not yet concluded, he has not yet finished writing book 6, we're going ahead and starting it in May, and we'll conclude next month with Dark Age with June, which everyone I've heard says the Dark Age is amazing. I can't talk too much about what Iron Gold is about because talking too much about it will spoil kind of the ending of the first trilogy. So it does take place some years later, some years after that first trilogy, and unlike the first trilogy, it is multi-POV. It is not just the single first-person POV that we have through Darrow in the first 3 books. Instead, it has, I think, 4 main characters, and we see the perspective of all 4 of them. And so that's going to be super interesting, especially since considering where Morningstar kind of left off. I know most people that I have talked to think that Iron Gold kind of the least, outside of the first book. A lot of people don't like the first book at all, but a lot of those people who don't like the first book don't really continue reading the series. So of everyone, the people who have read all of the books, I have heard that Iron Gold is their least favorite. And I don't know why that is. Maybe I've heard some of the characters, like one of the POV, at least a couple of POV characters are the worst. I've heard that maybe it's just because, you're starting a brand new, it's a sequel series, so it's starting a brand new thing. I don't know what it is, but everyone I know loves Dark Age, but many people I know did not enjoy Iron Gold, at least as much as the rest of the series. And I know that Elle didn't like Iron Gold at all, and so I hadn't even read Dark Age because didn't like Iron Gold, like hated Iron Gold so much, didn't read Dark Age. So I'm definitely eager to see what Iron Gold has in store for us. And of course, as with the first 3 books, we will have a live show on my channel at the end of the month with 3 brand new co-hosts talking about this 4th book. So it'll be a good one. So look for that a little later. Next on my May TBR is probably the book that I'm most excited to read. Maybe, it's certainly one of the books I'm most excited to read, and that is Boosh, Guns of the Dawn by Adrian Tchaikovsky. So you may have seen me talk about this book in my Book Howl video that that came out just recently. I've never heard anybody talk about this book. The only person I know that has read this book is Kevin the Undying. I ended up getting this book because after we read Promise of Blood in December for the Shelf Space Book Club, we were looking for other Flintlock fantasies because I really love Flintlock fantasy, and the only other Flintlock fantasy really that I've read is the Shadow Campaigns by Django Wexler. And so Kevin suggested Guns of the Dawn, as well as a couple other things, and looking at it, it just looks so freaking cool. And so there were several of us, including my good friend Angela, who just finished Greatcoats because she's amazing. We will be doing kind of like a buddy read over on Shelf Space of Guns of the Dawn, and I'm super, super excited. If you missed the last video, here, I'm going to read the back of the book so you can see what this freaking book is about. The first casualty of war is truth. First, Denlin's revolutionaries assassinated their king, launching a wave of bloodshed after generations of peace. Next, they clashed with Lascan, their royalist neighbor, pitching war machines against warlocks in a fiercely fought conflict. Genteel Emily Marshwick watched as hostilities stole her family's young men, but then came the call for yet more Lascan soldiers, in a ravaged kingdom with none left to give. Emily must join the ranks of conscripted women and march toward the front lines. With barely enough training to hold a musket, Emily braves the savage reality of warfare, but she begins to doubt her country's cause, and those doubts become critical, for her choices will determine her own future and that of 2 nations locked in battle. This sounds so freaking cool. It sounds like a strong female character, guns, like muskets, cannons, war machines against warlocks. What? So in my Book Howl video, no one had said, I've read that, and that sounds really good. So going into this completely blind, I am super jazzed about reading this because I love Flintlock fantasy and am on the constant search for good Flintlock fantasy, so I can really kind of recommend it to everybody, like I recommend the Shadow Campaigns. Really, for my Flintlock fantasy, I end up reading Sharp, which isn't fantasy, but it's certainly Flintlock, and, they're really good. So, I mean, that's really how I have to scratch my itch for that kind of, like, technological period. So, hopefully, War Machines versus Warlocks. Are you kidding me? It's like How I Met Your Mother. Robots versus wrestlers. But like 100 times cooler. So, Guns of the Dawn, you can feel free, you can go jump on the Shelf Space Discord, and if you want to read this with us, it's going to be a good time in May. Guns of the Dawn. Speaking of the Shelf Space Book Club, if you missed the announcement on the Book Howl, Shelf Space is a science fiction and fantasy book club started by my wonderful, wonderful friend, Jessie May. And every month since its inception, I think in June, she has had a different booktuber choose a fantasy or science fiction book that the whole club reads as a book club pick. And then at the end of the month, the 2 of them have a live show, and they've all been fantastic. I've jumped in on all the ones that I've been able to. I was the co-host in December. Well, Jessie is having her baby in May, and so will not be able to kind of continue those responsibilities. And so I have, at least for the near future, volunteered to kind of take that over. And so the very first Shelf Space Book Club pick that I will be hosting will be co-hosted by another one of my wonderful friends, Abby Salter, at her channel of the same name. Now, Abby is wonderful. She is one of my first friends on BookTube. She was one of the original, like, 7 people that talked all the time in Shelf Space, and she's one of the mods over there. Abby is amazing, even though, as a Brit, she does not actually understand what it means to be a Brit. She does not know British phrases like 10 guineas to a bent hat pin, I will eat my hat, not a brass farthing. She doesn't know any of those things. And so, while that is a pitiable state of affairs, she is an incredible booktuber and will be such an asset to her book pick, which I am also super excited about, Boosh, Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. I am not holding it because I do not have a copy, because it has not actually come out yet. It comes out next week, and I'm super excited to get my copy. I just finished reading Faithful of Fallen and finishing talking about it with Abby and Alex and Philip and Petrick, and for the last one, our discussion of Wrath, we had John Gwynne himself join us, and guys, I love Faithful and the Fallen, and John Gwynne is so nice, and while the Faithful and the Fallen is kind of Celtic Roman inspired, Gwynne even said it, based on kind of the Gallic Wars or part of it. This is based on actual Norse mythology and the Vikings. While Vikings are, not on the top of my tier list of ancient or historical peoples, so many people have already read this. So many people have read it early. So many people who I respect and opinions I care about have said that this is so good. And so I am super pumped to read this, definitely. If you have not yet read Shadow of the Gods, please join us. I will put the Shelf Space Discord as well down in the description. Come join us and read Shadow of the Gods. Even if you have read it, please join me and Abby for the live show of that, to talk about it. Talk about it with now that everybody's read it, not just the people who have arcs. Come and talk about Shadow of the Gods, and it's going to be such a good time. I love John Gwynn's work. I'm eager to see that this is his most recent novel. So I'm eager to see kind of the evolution between Faithful and the Fallen and Shadow of the Gods. It's going to be super exciting time. Come check it out. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about how amazing this freaking cover is for Shadow of the Gods. I don't even like dragons really all that much, though I keep liking books that have dragons in them. So this is a cool freaking dragon. I don't know who did this art, but I mean, they should be commended, and really should do Orbit, just have them do your covers, super good. With those four out of the way, the fifth book that I want to read that is going to be on my TBR is Boosh, The Folding Knife by K.J. Parker. Guys, so I've been wanting to read K.J. Parker for forever. He writes some economic kind of fantasy stuff, kind of set in a quasi Renaissance slash maybe earlier period Italy with merchant princes, and the world that he writes some of his books in is very similar to kind of that mercantile Italy. And I have had this book for forever. I got this book early last year, and as soon as I got it, I wanted to read it because this book sounds like it was created for me. First of all, there is a freaking not bas relief, but there's a kind of a watermark of Caracalla here. And the main character's name is Bassianus, which was, Caracalla's real name. Now, from what I understand, the main character in this is not a brute, and Caracalla was absolutely a brute and a thug. So, I don't know. But this just sounds, it just sounds like it was meant for me. I'm just going to read it. Bosso the Magnificent, Bosso the Great, Bosso the Wise, Bosso meaning Bassianus. The first citizen of the Vasani Republic is an extraordinary man. He is ruthless, cunning, and above all lucky. He brings wealth, power, and prestige to his people, but with power comes unwanted attention, and Bosso must defend his nation and himself from threats foreign and domestic. In a lifetime of crucial decisions, he's only ever made one mistake. One mistake, though, can be enough. Guys, I want to read this so bad. It's about a guy, like a merchant, king type thing, like a guy who is on top of the mercantile system and just knows how to play the political game and makes one mistake, and that just one mistake just brings everything crashing down, and how does he survive in that? And I've never read K.J. Parker, and I have a ton of K.J. Parker books, so it's going to be very telling on if I hate this book, because I got the Engineer trilogy back there that I want to read. I got 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City, which I want to read. So, I really, even great men make mistakes. I want to read this book, and every time I put it on my TBR, it gets shunted. I want to read this book, ladies and gentlemen. I am determined. I am bound and determined. A quest to complete this K.J. Parker book, because it just sounds like it was written for me. And watch, I'll probably end up hating it and then just be really sad. But it's called The Folding Knife. I have never heard anybody talk about it ever in the history of the world. And I did read a review on it, when I first got it, and everything they were saying about it sounded like it was written for me, as far as, kind of stuff that I really like. So I am bound and determined if I have, I'm going to try with all my might to get to The Folding Knife this month. Now, May kind of wraps up school. I have like kind of a less, like a lighter workload a little bit. So I might be able to get to a 6th book this month. If I am able to, I don't really know what I want my 6th book to be. So here are some options. I need to pick up The Silver Spike, which I did not get to in April. That is the 4th book of The Black Company. So I want to continue that because, again, I want to continue and kind of finish series. I need to read Shadow Black, which is book 2 of the Spellslinger series, which is Sebastian de Castell's young adult series. I did not get to that in April as well. So I might pick up one of those. Otherwise, I might pick up Boosh Sharp's Triumph, which is historical fiction by Bernard Cornwell. Or I like the way the Brits say it better, like Bernard Cornwell, which is way better. This is, I mean, it's the second Sharp book written chronologically as far as like when it takes place in Sharp's timeline. It is not the second book Cornwell wrote, but it is the second book in kind of the Sharp timeline, which I like. I like seeing how Sharp went from private, you know, to where he ends up. And so this is the second book in kind of the India campaign. Sharp's tiger is taking Seringapatam, which I know isn't the actual like Indian name of the city, but it's the British name of the city when they had presence there. This one is about the Battle of Assaye, or Assaye, as my friend's British dad says, in 1803, which is 4 years after Seringapatam. And so it involves Sharp during the India campaign trying to track down an English turncoat that murdered like a squad of British troops, and Sharp survived and so tracks him down. And I love Richard Sharp. He's like the non-Discworld kind of Sam Vimes. Well, I mean, yeah, he's very similar to Sam Vimes. He's like kicking the street and stuff. He probably is slightly less moral than Vimes. But if you haven't read a Sharp book and you like historical fiction, especially Napoleonic or flintlock fantasy, like read this. My other one that I might read is Boosh Thud by Terry Pratchett. This would be book 7. Book 7? Yeah, this is book 7 of the Watch books. I read Night Watch last month, and man, I love Night Watch. It was really, really good. I liked it way better than I read it, than when I had read it before. I remember not liking Thud really at all. Like, it was my least favorite Guards book by far the last time I read through the Guards book. So I am eager to read this. So we'll just kind of see what I am in the mood for. So this one is about it's about the Battle of Coombe Valley, which is well established in Discworld. It's referenced all the time about this big war between the dwarves and the trolls, and some dwarf is kind of like rabble rousing in Ankh-Morpork, coming on the anniversary of Coombe Valley, and then he's found dead with a troll club next to it, and crap ensues, and Vimes isn't going to have any of that nonsense. And so it takes him underground, and might even take him over to Coombe Valley itself. And the name Thud is kind of like a chess kind of game, where the one side is the dwarves and one side is the trolls. And so, I love Discworld, and it's just going to kind of see what kind of mood I'm in, if I have a room for a 6th book, if I want to read Silver Spike, Shadow Black, Thud, or Sharp's Fortress. So guys, that is it for me. Those are the books that I will be reading in May. If you've read them, let me know what you think of them. If you want to join with any of the buddy reads I announced, please, by all means, information down there for where you can find kind of all of those. May is going to be a great month, especially for me, because school gets out at the very end, and I could not be more excited. But that is it for me, guys. As always, information about my Discord and Patreon is down in the description. If you want to support what I do here in the channel, my patrons are probably the best in the world. They are absolutely wonderful, amazing people, and I love them to death. And with that being said, I'll see you next time, guys.